production, Paul Catalina and Royden Ogletree. We were not on the air yesterday. I was swamped with production work, and Pierre is in Japan.
Okay.
So I was I made the command decision to not do the show because I had been. I'll tell you this.
You didn't want him to stream from Japan?
Yeah.
I think they got internet over there.
I think so. This is a little inside baseball, but these 2 weeks before football actually starts are the busiest of my entire year because I have so many things to get ready functionally.
Yeah.
So I don't really get to keep my head above water.
Yeah.
And there's a good chance I don't do the show tomorrow afternoon, the main show, so I can get a jump on doing everything else I need to.
Well, I'm glad you included me.
Yeah, so
I'm glad to be here.
I'll do this show, but maybe not the main show, like the 3-hour show, because this is only.
I take it back.
This is only an hour.
Yeah,
I mean, how much work can I get done in an hour compared to how much work can I get done in 3? So
depends on how much you like to procrastinate.
Yeah, no, well, here's the thing: I'm trying not to procrastinate, and Smokey is also helping me not to procrastinate. Here, we have a third party involved in this that could give a shit less.
Football season, who cares? It's only the moneymaker.
I just need them to email me like 3 things. I don't need them to put them on a burro and drag them across the desert to me. I need you to send me 3 attachments.
It's hot outside, man.
3 attachments.
I don't know if you noticed.
On an email.
It's hard for me to work, and I work in an air conditioning building. I need.
And I think we can all have that feeling of we feel like we are like trying to get ahead of things, and then we run into a wall of like, look, man, I'm trying to do this. Like, your part in this is so minuscule, but it is the fulcrum on which this whole thing turns.
Right.
Like, I really need this, so I need everything from you. If you can just give it to me, you're out of this completely. And the sooner you do this, the sooner you're out, and the less texts, emails, and calls you will get from me. But I am almost into Glenn Close mode here, where
which version? Hillbilly Elegy.
Somewhere between Hillbilly Elegy and Fatal Attraction. I'm Bunny in the microwave.
Yeah.
I'm methed up Bunny in a microwave.
That's
right
just
now.
Deliverance, by the way.
Yeah.
So, ding, 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 ding.
That's where I am.
I feel you because most of the content that I listen to, the podcasts that I listen to, have taken these 2 weeks off where I'm like, I need something to fill the void. And they're just like, before football season starts, we're just going to take our vacation now because then they're not going to have a vacation for, months and months and months.
I've never even considered that.
Yeah.
And now it might be a thing that I
Right.
demand.
Well, right before, look, you're going to be working, all of us in this room are going to be working for 5 straight. Football doesn't stop now. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah.
It just is.
Why do y'all think Garrett's not here?
Right. It's just always present now until February.
Yeah.
And so our wives hate us. If you have kids, learn their names later.
Yeah.
And I just think that right now, I think, is when I've seen a bunch of people taking off. But to your point, that is me trying to email coaches for rosters to call a football game.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, hey, it'd be nice if we had your 2 deep. That'd be great. Well, we haven't set that yet. Why not? I'm not like the game is on.
That's why.
Yeah, the game is on Thursday. I'm going to be calling you Wednesday night if you do not email me what I need.
Yeah.
But I know they got a lot going on. Coaches are busy, probably more so than I am. But I'd like that roster, thanks.
This is the time of year that I'm worried that if and when I do have a kid, that my wife will be like, "Hey, you need to go pick up Dennis," and I'm like, "Who's Dennis?
Yeah.
Your son?" Like, oh.
When did we have a kid?
Oh, yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Smaller version of me.
Shares my DNA. I don't like him that much.
I'm sorry.
Bad vibes, from Dennis.
I don't like his attitude this time of year.
Yeah.
Pay attention to me. I need food and shelter.
Or the worst is when and I get it too. Like, wives of people that are in media that have to cover football, or spouses rather of people that are in media that have to cover football. It cannot be more annoying than on a Saturday after a beautiful, crisp fall Saturday afternoon when you want to go do something, when your significant other is like, sorry, babe, I got to watch SMU Miami.
Yeah.
You have to do it.
That's a banger.
It'll be great.
It'll be great.
But you know how annoying that would be.
Yeah.
And people got roasted on Twitter for the grow up, go to a fall wedding sort of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know what side of the aisle I'm kind of fence sitting on that one, but also I do kind of get it, where it's like, oh man, East Carolina's playing Hawaii. I really have to dig in deep for this one at 9:00 at night. Go to bed. Go to bed. Anyway, that's my rant.
Yeah.
As I prepare
This
for
is
another.
where you separate the men from the boys.
Right, the wheat from the chaff. I'm as I'm digging in for another fall of football. I love you, Caitlin. Thank you so much for being in my life.
Yeah, no, it is. It gets. I'll tell you the fall wedding thing. I just can't do it. Like, I'll go if I'm free for a weekend. And my brother-in-law is getting married next fall, so I will be going to a fall wedding.
No, yeah, you don't have a choice.
I might have a choice in that one. But if you are like my buddy from college and you decide to get married in the fall, I'm sorry, like, can't do it.
We threw our wedding, just a quick backstory. We threw our wedding, we were trying to make it to where it just was not 1,000 degrees outside for our wedding. Turns out it's still 95 degrees in October. And we picked this date, and we just picked it blindly at the end of October. And I was like, Caitlin, that may be on like Baylor homecoming or something. People are not going to be. And she, vehemently was like, don't care. And I respect her convictions. She was just like, does not matter to me. And I was like, you know what? Fine, fair. We flip of a coin. I don't know how we did it. The one Baylor bye weekend was at the end of October for some reason. No, all of our Baylor friends and alum that were coming in, they were just like, how did you do that? I was like, that was by the grace of God.
Yeah. So, I mean, we did kind of an elopement, really, because we went to Hawaii last year.
Yeah.
And the only detail, like when we started playing the wedding, was like, look, this is not going to be in the fall. Like, no matter how much you want it to be, and it's twofold. One, it's just so hard with my work, and I don't think I'll be able to support you in that way. And two, admittedly, if it's the wrong day in the fall, am I going to be focused
On the wedding.
You've seen me. You know how I am when Saturdays get going.
Yeah, that goes really
I'm just admitting that, like, if you say we have to get married on October 17th and that's FSU Miami, emotionally, I'm conflicted enough to where, while still thrilled to marry you, I'll be more thrilled if it wasn't that day. Like, let's just admit my flaws. I'm not going
as
to.
As long as you admit that they are flaws, yeah.
Look, don't come to me and ask me to fly the plane if you know that I might not be all into it. Even though you know that, like, you know what? I know Paul can fly a plane. Let's go ask him. The plane's going down. I'd be like, you know what? I am like 7 drinks in. So
look, so are the pilots.
Yeah, look, here's what you do. You get a guy that's not drunk, and I'll tell him how to fly the plane if I remember.
Can you imagine a plane's going down? Is there anybody, an amateur pilot in here? Yeah, but I don't really feel like it.
I'm really into this book right now, and it's kind of at the,
This cost me $37 at Hudson News. You're not going to peel me back from this.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. By the way, shout out to Shorty's Pizza Shack.
A great institution.
Yes. We're having a fantasy draft there on Saturday.
What pick do you have?
I have the 3rd pick.
Ooh. Could get interesting if McCaffrey falls. Anyway, this is fantasy football corner, but
yeah. Breece Hall is probably where I'm looking right now.
Good pick.
The Breece Hall is probably where I'm looking. But all right, let's jump into our first topic of the day. Yesterday, Football Scoop and John Bryce posted an article about power conference power plays, coaches in key situations in the ACC, Big 10, Big 12, and SEC. So we're going to start with the SEC and Billy Napier, who is the
Billy
coach.
Napes.
The coach, according to BetOnline, most on the hot seat of anybody. Now, if I am Scott
Basically
Strickland,
uranium. Like, it's pretty.
if I am Scott Strickland, the AD at Florida, I'm at least building in a cushion for him based on the fact that, even though they have not been good the 2 years he's been there. He walked into a situation where Dan Mullen had kind of gotten exhausted with modern recruiting. He couldn't do it.
Pre-NIL, yeah.
Well, it was right at it. And then Georgia had completely embraced it, and Kirby Smart spending more money than everybody else. And so one of your two biggest rivals is lapping you when it comes to not only funds, but enthusiasm and all that. So Billy Napier admittedly had to deal with that a little bit. Then they have the Jaden Rashada situation, which obviously didn't help them. Now, he has been recruiting his butt off, and they've been getting players that are 4- and 5-star players.
Namely DJ Lagway, which is unbelievable.
He just kept DJ Lagway. He kept him in the class and got there, which is huge for him to get him. But I think there needs to be a schedule buffer in there for the fact that they have the hardest schedule that you could ever construct. And it feels like this was either done on purpose or it was a total accident.
Sink or swim.
Yeah, it was just like one of those things that like they put everything into the grid, and then Florida just no whammy, stop, whammy, 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 like all the way around. And then like when they get something like, you've got this game again. I can't remember who their like cupcake game is against.
USF or something?
No, UCF is one of their games, and that's not easy at all. But like their FCS game, it's like when you finally don't hit a whammy, it's only like $100.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, you're like, and so then like, well, I mean, I know I didn't win any money on the show, but Samford, yeah. So Samford is their FCS school, and everybody else on their schedule is someone that could beat them.
I mean, it's Miami at home, or is that neutral site?
I think it's Miami at home.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so Miami at home, Samford at home, Texas A&M at home. So, that all shakes out well. But then you go on the road for Mississippi State, UCF at home, Tennessee on the road. Here's where it gets tough. Tennessee on the road.
It's already been tough.
Yeah. Kentucky at home, but Georgia on the road, Texas on the road, and then Florida State on the road to end out the year.
So it's tough. Their last 6 opponents are all in the top 15 right now.
Right. No, Georgia, Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, Florida State.
Yeah. They're all in the top 15. So I do think you need to have some grace for that. But look, if he goes 2-10, he's going to get fired. But But if he goes 6-6, I mean, I say you back off him and go, hey, congratulations.
Bowl game.
But it is a pivotal time in Gainesville for Billy Napier. Sure.
I think Billy Napier's a good coach.
He may not be in the right spot.
Yeah. Where was he from? Was he previously? He was Arkansas. No, Raging Cajuns. I was going to say Arkansas State, but no. He was.
He was at Louisiana.
He really overperformed with that team, and had some guys. Their games against Texas and stuff. I think they were overmatched, but what I remember is
they scrapped.
Yeah, it's just they had guys running around doing stuff, and I think he got teams to overperform, which is tough for these mid-major coaches. Mid-major is the wrong word, but these smaller school coaches that then jump up to these big programs, which where else are you going to get them from unless you somehow get a coup to get Kirby Smart down to Gainesville? But I don't know. So you're constantly looking at these other programs like feeder programs to bring in up and coming coaches. And Billy Napier was that guy.
I'm going to throw this out there. If Ryan Day goes 10-2 in the regular season and loses to Michigan, and then only wins one playoff game, and Ohio State makes the ridiculous error of letting one of the best coaches go, Ryan Day will be the next coach in Gainesville.
That's not like, I mean, yeah, that's not a.
And that's not totally likely to happen, but the fact that Ryan Day is on any kind of hot seat list because he hasn't beaten Michigan and he hasn't won a national title yet, he's out of excuses. Like, he is out of excuses.
Things move differently up there.
Especially with that roster that
Columbus.
he's got right now and how much they're going. I don't, because Urban Meyer beat Michigan. There are still people up there who are like, well, Urban Meyer's never done anything wrong in his whole life. And Ryan Day, who does not have the rap sheet that Urban Meyer does when it comes to roster problems or personal ones.
Or health problems.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, he's never gone and assaulted his own kicker before. That's a thing that I'm pretty sure Ryan
that was
Day
down.
hasn't
That
done.
was in Florida. It was in Jacksonville.
It's under old state law in Florida.
And in Jacksonville, things work differently up there in the Panhandle.
Yeah, you can't have your buggy within 6 feet of an alligator, and you can also kick someone in the.
You can still challenge people to duels.
Yeah.
The disdain for Ryan Day just simply not being Urban Meyer is a weird backwards way to look at it.
Yeah.
But I mean, things move differently up there when you've been one of the 4 programs in the college football playoff era to win a championship, and then haven't done it since the inception of it, basically.
Ohio State is also the most consistent program in college football.
Yeah.
Even more so historically than Alabama. Like, can you think of a long, dry spell of Ohio State between any of their coaches?
Like since Jim Tressel? No.
Even before then. Like,
Yeah.
you go from Woody, honestly, from Woody Hayes on, their dark periods are not nearly as dark as anybody else's.
Yeah, but you got to understand who you're dealing with. I came online when like the Jim Tressel tattoo gate happened.
Yeah, so since Jim Tressel, especially, they've gone from Jim Tressel to a year with Luke Fickell with all the suspensions and everything. Then they went to Urban Meyer.
That was Luke Fickell.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Then they went to because they had to have an interim because all that stuff with Tressel happened later. Then they've now gone to Ryan Day, and the worst thing that's happened to them is they haven't won the Big Ten by a game.
Yeah.
Not in contention for the Big Ten. We're one game out of the Big Ten title game.
I mean, 11 wins every single year, pretty much, or at least double-digit win. I don't even know the last time that they only won 9 games. But the top 5 recruiting classes every single year, the best facilities in the country. You are always looking up at potentially sneaking into the playoff, no matter what. We wax poetic about this,
and are so good and everything's so cool in Columbus. People forget they're in Ohio. Yes,
perpetually gray outside.
I will take shots at almost all 50 states.
Yeah. Also, you just have the most people drafted now every single year.
I mean, other than outside of the SEC, but outside of Alabama, you have tons of people drafted. There's nothing wrong. The only thing wrong is you're not holding up trophies. That's it.
Was Ryan Day mentioned in this list or no?
No.
Okay.
I just brought him up. On the Big Ten's, a nice little transition to that. The Big Ten's mentioned in this list was Matt Rule, because he's in year 2, and year 2 is usually when you see like, this
isn't going as planned.
No, it's going as planned.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it is. He is, and he did it at Temple and he did it at Baylor. And you could make the argument he was doing it in Carolina. It just, they're run by a crazy billionaire. What's he? Look,
they didn't have NFL players, man.
No. That more of the people he drafted are there than you might imagine.
No, I know. When you look at the roster, but they're also like 1-win team.
Yeah, but that also I don't think was totally his fault, given the fact that he stepped into a situation that was not what he signed up for.
No, he stepped into a losing situation and they threw a ton of money. I mean, like winner at the bank, Matt Rule. But I think that he stepped into a situation that I don't even think David Tepper knew what he was putting him in.
And David Tepper he's on his way to James Dolan town as far as owners go.
Yeah, if he if that stadium sucked any worse or anything like that, people would be really looking at him sideways. But the stuff of him like taking off somebody's hat in the bar, and
he threw a beer at a guy.
Yeah.
And you know.
Oh, I forgot he did that in the
Yeah.
stands. Yeah, it's going sideways for him. But
He.
thank
here's
you for
another
CJ
thing-
Stroud.
Here's another thing that happened with Carolina. He put his wife in charge of like all these things, and then she didn't get the Rooney Rule training.
Uh-oh.
So yeah, she was, but I don't know, like, and I'm not saying that she's not capable of doing any of this stuff, but you know, when you have a bunch of football people in a room that have all had to go through this training and then she didn't, and then all of a sudden you're like, what do you think, honey? It's not going to go over well.
Nepotism, sometimes it's bad.
Yeah. So, so it's a bad situation.
Matt Rule to me always made sense more as a college coach than I have a friend who, you know, take this for what it's worth. He calls him the best youth pastor that money can buy.
I don't think he would.
Yeah.
I don't think Matt would not
Meaning
like that.
he can get people fired up to be where he wants them to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that works, I think, a little bit better. The rah-rah of it, I think, works a little bit better in college with 18 to 22-year-olds, now like 25-year-olds, because I have no idea how old people are anymore, but like with COVID. But it works better with 18 to 22-year-olds than I think it does with the 22 to 32-year-olds getting paid millions of dollars. So to that end, I'm not shocked at all that he's taken what seemed like a uphill battle in Nebraska to being competitive and having more hope than I think they've had in years because they actually have a viable quarterback.
Yeah.
Now, or who seems to be doing his best Patrick Mahomes impression. But that's he's the greatest quarterback in football. So why wouldn't you? But I'm going on and on. But to say that what success looks like for Nebraska, I guess at this point, bowl eligibility and stuff like that.
Yeah. Not losing games down the stretch.
Yeah, not fading when it gets cold outside. But I don't know. Do you have an answer?
Here's what I think. I think they'll be a lot better late in games. They've got to clear out, like, Nebraska's problem has been they've been one of the dumbest teams. Like, they do really dumb stuff that has them lose these close games.
Yeah, like turnovers late in games, or
and it's
not running out the clock properly.
Yeah, sometimes it's not like sometimes you see teams lose late in games because you can tell their conditioning's not right. Like they've gone in the wrong direction. Because people can be in good shape but not be in the right shape. I've seen that a bunch where, we'll say, we got to change the conditioning around here. And you're like, well, how are these I'm looking at these guys. They look like they're in good shape. Yeah, but they're not in the right shape. They need to do something different than they've been doing. They've been too focused on one thing and not the other.
Right.
So their problem, I don't think, was ever that. I think they were always in games late. So it wasn't like they were fading, because those are the teams you see, like a team is like right in a game for 3 quarters and change. And then that 10 minutes left in the game comes around. And then all of a sudden, the better team that's in the right shape, throttles them and wins by 17 in a game that's been tied the whole time, because your guys are just like, and they're like, oh, I'm kind of tired, but I'm good.
That's one thing I'll say about those Matt Rule Baylor teams is that those guys played almost like every down.
Yeah, they scrap. And that's what I think his mantra
almost
is.
to a fault, because he was kind of running those kids out there to die.
Well, he also he's one of the dudes that does the physical practices when he's his practices are physical. As a matter of fact, year one lost the starting center because they were doing the Oklahoma drill in the spring game, and it was one of it was something he was willing to risk, and I think he's backed off that now, but. He had to get some toughness back in the team and some fire, because they had emotionally lost their edge. I think with Nebraska, the biggest thing is obviously he's not building this group of guys back from an off the field situation. He's building them up of confidence of all we've seen is us get close to being better and then not be better.
It's more of a Temple situation than it is a Baylor situation.
Yeah, exactly. So, instead of getting a punt blocked, like our punter, in the situation where, oh man, we got a turnover, deep in our own territory, we got a goal line stand or something. Oh, well, we only got 4 yards and now we have to punt, but if we get a punt in here, we should be all right, and we should be able to, have, flip the field a little bit. And the punter doesn't get the punt blocked.
Yeah.
He just drops it. like those things. Or, quarterback's running out of bounds and then switches the ball to the inbounds hand and fumbles in bounds. Like those little kind of stupid things, you're like, well, I mean, he still could have knocked the ball out, but that hand was already going out of bounds. So the likelihood of him getting this ball, but like when you switch it to your left hand, now it just lands in his belly. Yeah. So those are the things that they have to stop doing, and those are the things I think you'll see them stop doing. I'm not sure what their depth is like for them to win. Plus, they're rolling out the true freshman quarterback who reports are very good about him, but he's still a true freshman.
Well, I was going to say, Dylan Raiola, who was mentioned in an article that we'll talk about after the break, I assume, but Dylan Raiola could be the truth, and they could still, only win 7 games.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
That's just how it kind of works with true freshman QBs sometimes, but, take Patrick Mahomes, the truth.
Yeah.
Throwing magnificent touchdowns out there in the high sun or the high skies of Lubbock, Texas.
Yeah.
Wasn't surrounded by the most talent.
Well, and he was also like, they just, when you've got a guy who throws for 700 yards in a game and you lose.
Yeah.
Like that's not on him or your offense. That's on your defense.
And the scheme.
Yeah. Like, hey, I don't know what more we could do over here.
That is my friend Dex, who we do the podcast with, has a really any time that this happens where a quarterback goes off, say like CJ Stroud threw for 500 yards and the Texans lost. He likes to say, I really want the quarterback to come out and say, y'all lost.
Yeah.
Y'all lost.
Yeah.
Now that's throwing your team under the bus, but it needs to be more prevalent.
Most of the time it wouldn't happen publicly.
Yeah.
But I do know that there are times where, I've been in a Cowboys locker room where I can tell, one side or the other has not bailed the other one out.
Yeah.
In a situation where they definitely needed them to. Mm-hmm. And it's like the 5th or 6th time that's happened. And then you walk into the room and you'll talk to a defensive player and they're doing their best to just not be like, you know whose fault it is? That guy. Right. Him. Right there. Him.
The one that let the ball go through his hands?
Yeah.
That one.
Yeah. They're like, it all happens as a team. And you're like,
does it?
I mean, you guys only gave up 13 points and they threw 3 interceptions in the red zone. So
I can't run block. What's happening?
Yeah. Those things. I can tell you it is set. There are times where the head coach will maybe just leave the room and be like, all right, hash it out. I'll be back in 20.
Yeah.
I say everything you want to say out loud, and then we'll deal with the aftermath.
Yeah.
Okay, so the last 2 are Deion Sanders, who has to make the steak have some flavor. Right now, all sizzle, no steak. And he is getting really cagey and rabbit ears lately. I mean, he's mad. He's blocking people because they didn't vote Shadur onto the AP preseason All-American team.
Yeah, very normal things going on out there in Boulder.
Yeah, I mean, he's mad at reporters for writing harsh columns. I mean, look, dude, they're a 4-8 team. They're 4-8.
Yeah.
And you get a lot of attention. So Deion's well aware that he needs to flip that record at least consistently to get people off his back. But it's still very early on. But he is getting – I never thought – but again, he's human. I just thought it would take him longer to get rabbit ears in Colorado.
What do you think? Because Colorado was so bad for a good bit. What do you think it would take for Colorado, the program, who, I'm not, the athletic program, I'm not even quite sure how good they are at anything. They've been okay at basketball. Yeah. But football is the thing that they've kind of held their hat on in the 21st century, hung their hat on in the 21st century, early.
The 20th century.
20th and early in the 21st century. like, what would it take for them to just say, you know what? And I'm not wishing this upon Dion and anything like that, but what would it take for them to be like, you know what? This isn't worth the headache. Is it how many seasons of?
I don't know. I do think that they've got to come up with a more unified recruiting plan from high school to transfer portal.
Right. Because
I think you need to have some developmental talent because not everybody's going to leave.
Wait, it's depth.
Yeah, it's depth, but you have to develop guys
Yeah.
in your system that get your system that are going to be your leaders on the team. We're not relying on new leaders every year to come in from another place and say, well, this is how it worked when I was here. The other part about doing it the way that you are and wholesale overturning your roster every year is, you can go out and get like, I remember him saying last year, y'all don't know who we got coming. And I was like, yeah, but I do. Like, I've seen all these guys play before.
We have the tape.
Like, I can tell
they're
you.
They're not high school kids where
there were a couple transfers I was very familiar with. Some of them played here. Some of them played in the ACC. Like, there were guys I was like, well, they're not starting at the place they were, so – that's not the guys you need to go get. Now, if you go and rip some starters away, good for you. But right now you're getting guys they need a new opportunity.
Yeah,
and
I didn't ding him for the policy last year when you're starting from literally zero because
it was one of the worst rosters in the history of
because the guys that you're
FBS
getting
football.
rid of, it does not matter in general. And no shot to those guys. A lot has been made, and their articles have been written about how he handled the transfer portal and how those guys sort of found out that they were even off the team and how crass it kind of was, them getting kicked off rather, or being suggested that they transfer, like it's the NCAA video game. And so you can find them. A lot of articles have been written about that. And but all that to say is that they weren't. The cupboard was pretty bare starting, and even if you kept some of those guys, they're the guys that went 1-11. Without any sort of big major scandal, they were just that bad. And so starting the policy of we're redoing this from the bottom up. We're bringing in fresh blood from other schools that need a different opportunity. I was like, you know what? Fine. Now it was wild how many people that they ended up taking without any sort of significant play into the high school ranks.
Yeah.
It seemed like they almost weren't interested in it. Or maybe it was too late to have it happen.
Yeah.
But this year, where it's sort of the same song, different verse.
They've got better players coming this year than they did last year.
Right. That's what I'm saying. But also still sort of neglecting the high school ranks.
Well, and I get it. I agree with him that he can't just go into somebody's neighborhood clandestinely and recruit them like any other coach can.
Yeah.
Like even Nick Saban can go in and, you might be like walking your dog and see Nick Saban like leaving your neighbor's house and be like, oh, hey, that's cool. Good for the Simpson kid. He's getting recruited by Bama. Nick Saban's there in the house. Deion Sanders can travel nowhere in anonymity. I mean, he's a gigantic, huge celebrity.
Yeah.
Where he goes, crowds follow. Like and especially nowadays, if you were just sitting at a high school game and then he walked out on the sidelines for a player they're recruiting, and I've seen hundreds of coaches, like big time coaches at high school games over the years where it's like, oh, look at that. Or Craig would be down the sidelines and be like, hey, Mac Brown is here. Like, oh, look, there's Bob Stoops. Like those kind of things on those bye week nights where the coaches get in there. I
saw Bob Huggins one time.
If you took a picture on Instagram and sent it out to your group of friends, like, look who's here, Deion Sanders, there's going to be a lot of people who are like, oh, I'm going to come over there and see Deion Sanders.
Yeah.
Like
a lot of that, I mean, Deion Sanders is a celebrity and he's Deion. A lot of that is also in his own making of the sort of self-funded media that they have going on with, and social media and how active they are on all of that and like how front-facing they are for all of this stuff. Like if you asked Nick Saban to tweet anything, you'd be like, what is that?
Yeah.
I fully believe it.
I've got a guy for that.
Yeah, exactly. And, the snap face or whatever you want to call it.
Rodney, they want the Twitter.
Yeah. So I'm not casting any blame on that. I'm just saying a lot, celebrity can also be of your own making too, and especially his sons as well. But no, I mean,
yeah, things are weird there.
It's just a weird balancing act that they haven't quite found, and I think they could still win 6 games. Shadur Sanders is just that talented. I still believe that, but it's still going to be an uphill battle with them as far as depth and stuff goes on that team. I am looking forward to going there though in September, so I will say that. I'll tell you, I saw, who just like wasn't walking around in anonymity, but nobody was bothering. Bob Huggins was just at like a Temple High, or not a Temple High School, a Temple junior college basketball game, just sitting there, just chilling, West Virginia gear and everything. And I think everybody knew who he was, but everybody kind of just left him alone. So I get what you mean by you're just kind of like, a lot of coaches can kind of just walk around, shockingly. And he's like a Hall of Fame coach.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, the last one is Dabo Swinney. Dabo Swinney is nowhere near the hot seat.
No.
But if they have the same year this year they did last year, there's going to be somebody who's going to have the balls to say to him, like, portal.
Yeah.
You're doing it. Your moral objections are stupid. Just do it. And the other thing that's weird to me is I think Dabo Swinney sees the portal as how Deion's doing it, of getting 40 new players.
No, you need 10.
He needs less.
Yeah.
He needs less. He just needs to fill in the veteran gaps where things didn't work out. But I think he's too egotistical. And he's like, no. This works.
Hey, wide receivers, there's 1,000 of them on there.
Yeah. Just, this works. No, he's really good at the other part. The portal needs to be 80% high school, 20% or less portal. Bottom line, if you're a consistently good team. That's what your goal should be as you get good, is max 80%. And that's a year that maybe your senior class just got wiped out. Mm-hmm. You had a big senior class, 24 of them all gone. That should be a big year. But 10% of your people should be kind of portal. So you can go, I want Royden Ogletree and Emery Winter and Jack McKenzie because he's a good defensive end, he's a good linebacker, and Jack's a good
Heard it here
tight
first.
end. So
I got the length. I can keep them off.
Those guys are the ones that I want. And then I don't have to go like, oh, crap, we don't have any centers.
Yeah.
So let's just go get 3 guys who'll come here. That's not what he needs to do. He just needs to go, well, we just lost a 4-year starter at guard. Let's go get a guy because this true freshman's not ready. And, our wide receivers weren't as good, so let's go get a couple.
I think they had two or 3 defensive tackles go in the drafts in the past couple of years.
Just do that, and it makes no sense to me.
The moral objections are stupid is just that needs to be put on a t-shirt. What are we talking about?
Yeah.
We're not talking about anything. We're talking in circles.
Yeah.
You're not making any sense.
Yeah.
But the objections to what? You can get paid $1 million, but we aren't going to. I mean, he's still paying the kids.
Yeah.
The kids are still getting paid on your team. So you now don't. At first, it was a moral objection to he was saying, oh, if kids start to get paid, I'm going to retire. Didn't do that.
Yeah.
By the way. And nobody seemed to really call him out on that except for my friends on Twitter. But nobody's listening to that. Then it has now become sort of, well, we can't form a team of people that are always transferring. And it's sort of looking at, this is just me projecting onto this, but I think it's kind of true. We cannot form a team of people that, in his mind, seems like they're quitters almost. They quit. They quit on the other team. So why would I want them here when that's just not the case with a lot of these guys?
Yeah.
It is an open market now, which I believe that Dabo would support.
Well, here's the thing. He said he would retire and he didn't. And then somebody clearly got in his ear and said, hey, so here's the thing. I'm going to give you some math. You make $9 million a year.
Yeah.
The players make $0 a year. So when you say that out loud, this is not 1975 anymore. It makes you sound like a jerk because you deserve to make $9 million,
But they deserve
and they deserve
nothing.
Zero.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, we're paying for their school. Okay, great. That is not zero, but also we pay for their school and still give you $9 million.
Yeah.
And if we took $1 million of that and spread it among them, you would still be making $8 million. And it's not like you would have to give up going out to dinner.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have to cancel your cable subscription because HBO has just been too much.
Mr. Sweeney, when was the last time that you ate ramen?
Went to a really fancy place in...
No. Package ramen.
Ew.
Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah. That's
No,
what
I mean, we get some like the guys, we have it in the office for the interns.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I did one on a dare.
Is that free?
I did one on a dare. It's free for me.
Free for you.
It's free for me.
How much do they have to pay for it?
I had to pay $4.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of a markup, but got to turn a profit on it.
Yeah.
You can't just give this stuff away.
No, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I thought. Do you take classes as well? Do you also have to take classes?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Why?
Oh, I did that already when I was a student.
Right.
So, I mean, why would I have to take a class?
No, I'm just saying because you're so focused on people's education.
Well, I mean, fair point, but these people.
The objections are so stupid.
I mean, it's just, but I've said this so many times, but I think it's so true about what he's doing. Is he was probably in a room full of coaches and is like, you know what?
This stinks.
This stinks. I'm not going to do it. I don't need to do it.
Yeah.
And they're all like, you know what? We're with you. We're with you.
Damn right, Dabo.
That's right. And then they all go out and go,
This
oh my
guy.
God. All right, good deal. Yeah.
Can you believe this guy?
Yeah. All right. Yeah. No, we're with you. We're with you. And then,
Nudge, nudge.
yeah, I know that you've seen the movie You've Got Mail.
Oh, yeah.
So in the movie You've Got Mail, Meg Ryan has this like big protest and like this one children's author's like, this is egregious what they're doing to you. I can't believe it. And then she's like, anything you need, I'm here for you. And then like a month later, that she's like, here's the author doing a book signing across the street. That's what they all did was like, oh yeah, we're with you. You need me to do anything, you just let me know. Give me a call. I'm going to be busy like for the next month, but you call me.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's just looking up and going, oh, look at that. Alabama took 9 transfers.
It says, how much did Ohio State pay for that quarterback?
Yeah. All right. Yeah. That's what he did.
It's still silly.
Not as much time as I would have liked to talk about the intriguing quarterbacks, but we're going to do that next. We're going to cherry pick them, especially with some QB1 announcements being made yesterday all across the country. This is 365 Sports.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Alongside Royden Ogletree.
Hello.
And Royden, Pat Forty released his 25 most intriguing quarterbacks for 2024. And, some of these, like it's Dylan Raiola and Dylan Gabriel and DJU.
Shadur Sanders.
Like there's intriguing ones. I'm going to cherry pick this list a little bit and talk about some guys.
By the way, this list is all the names that casual college football fans would know, and then like Daquan Finn.
Yeah. Yes.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Which is not like those are the most intriguing quarterbacks. But
Yeah.
anyway.
No. Miller Moss at USC, I think, is very intriguing. And the biggest reason is this is a quarterback that, Lincoln Riley had all the Heisman trophies. He's got, he has Kyler, he has Baker, he has Jalen Hurts, who's not a Heisman Trophy winner, but was great in a transfer, and he has Caleb Williams. All four of those guys have something in common. They're all transfers. Now, he did recruit Caleb Williams at Oklahoma, and then he went with him.
It's a little bit of a cheat code.
But, yeah, it's a little bit of a cheat code. But this is going to be the first time that he is entering a season with a quarterback who is, at this point, not on the Heisman radar. Because Baker would have been going into his all the arrow was pointed up. That's a total unproven commodity.
Right.
And I even say that knowing Caleb Williams took over as the starter for Spencer Rattler, but Spencer Rattler was one of the most highly touted quarterbacks in recent memory. Now, did he work out to the level of his hype? Not at all. But going into that season with Spencer Rattler as the starter, he was the next guy, and then Caleb Williams was the next guy. And Spencer Rattler didn't happen. Caleb Williams takes over. So this is the first time he's going into the season without the guy.
This is a true blue, old school way of doing the quarterback position. Red shirt for 2 years, or not red shirt, but, he did red shirt and not play for 2 years and then start as a red shirt junior.
Yeah. No, it is.
There's a college football that I know and love back.
Yeah.
22-year-olds are back starting at quarterback.
Yeah.
I didn't watch the Holiday Bowl. Apparently he went off.
Yeah, he played really well. But again, I will caution people. It would be hypocritical of me to put everything onto a bowl game, given some of the stances I've made about last year's Orange Bowl.
Yeah, he threw 6 touchdowns. That's nuts.
Yeah, it was nuts. He had a great game. So he showed potential. And look, I'm big on Avery Johnson, but it was not just the Pop-Tarts Bowl that makes me think that. He had a game that he started last year and scored 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So in the regular season. So I see that Miller Moss is going to be intriguing. If he can repeat that and if they can get in front of people, then USC will be fixed.
Yeah.
But, there's a lot on him. And this is the first time. We'll see how, all right, this is the first time with Miller Moss that you've got kind of the old school way of doing it. Like you said, Lincoln Riley, let's see what you can do. I think there's some pressure there.
It's the same sort of, also on this list, just a few spots down, it's the same sort of thinking with Nico Amaliva, right? Like it's, played at the end of the season, played in the bowl game, showed out in the bowl game, from what I understand.
Oh,
yeah, showed out in the bowl game.
He made that Iowa defense look silly.
Yeah. And now it's his turn, where the past quarterbacks have been sort of older, and he is, how old is he now? I'm not quite sure. I think is he a freshman or a sophomore?
Yeah, he'd be I don't know where his red shirt falls, but yeah, this is his second year.
Yeah, so
at Tennessee.
I'm just more interested in him because he's 6'6", 215 pounds.
Runs like a deer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just interested in that.
Yeah.
Personally. But that's the same sort of thinking with going to a younger up and coming quarterback. Now Miller Moss I think is older and but yeah, same level of experience for two teams that have sort of the same expectations. And now I think that USC is probably going to be worse than what Tennessee is going to be. But I've been surprised before.
Yeah. Alex Orji at Michigan has not officially been named the starter yet.
Sure.
Jack Tuttle, who's a 7th-year college player. So
what?
Yeah, like Alan Bowman, but Jack Tuttle. Alan Bowman, who was also once at Michigan.
Indeed accounts
I believe
free.
Alan Bowman was the backup for Tom Harmon at Michigan. That's how long he's been in college.
I'm just saying, Indeed accounts are free. You too can go professional in something other than sports.
Look, Enterprise Rent-A-Car.
We'll take you there.
They'll take you there, and they give you the tools.
Yeah.
But Alex Orji, 6'3", 238, like a big athletic quarterback. And you saw him a little bit last year in certain packages, but he's got to be able to, be an every down quarterback.
I think we talked about it last year. He's something like he's only thrown like 3 passes or something.
Yeah. And look, they didn't have to. J.J. McCarthy, unfortunately, out for the season after he got hurt in his preseason debut, which really sucks. But in that preseason debut, you saw like, oh, this kid can kind of sling the ball around.
Yeah,
but
if told where to go with it, he knows how to put it there.
But also, like, when you don't have to take the driver out of the bag ever, then like that was Jim Harbaugh's philosophy. It was like, I mean, we can drive the green every time if we want, but since we don't have to, we won't. And
they're like no laying up. Jim Harbaugh's like all laying up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to do that, and I'm going to wear you guys down.
Yeah,
and I'll have my
Pars, baby. We're going to be there at the end.
Yeah, I'm going to have my gigantic lines just wear you out.
Yeah,
and Alex Orji should be interesting, but we've seen nothing from him, and the fact that they haven't named him yet makes me a little concerned that they're like, all right, what are we doing here? But if they run that same kind of offense, then maybe
I kind of just want them to just run over everybody.
Yeah.
Do that. He's 6'3", 230 pounds. That's sick. Just him and was it Stewart was the running back? Or who's there?
Corum. Well, now it's Edwards.
Edwards. I don't know Stewart. Yeah, like just run over everyone, man. That's fun. Do that.
Yeah. And then the last two we'll talk about, Jackson Arnold at Oklahoma. Same, like a very similar situation to Avery Johnson in that, Avery Johnson pushed Will Howard to Ohio State.
Yeah.
Jackson Arnold pushed Dylan Gabriel to Oregon. And if he's really as good as advertised, this should be something to watch, but it's still a big jump, to do that and to willingly lose Dylan Gabriel.
I feel like I've been hearing about Jackson Arnold forever.
Yeah, because he was one of the best quarterbacks in Texas.
5-star Texas prospect,
From the time he was a freshman or like late in his freshman year to his sophomore year, people have been talking about him.
Right.
So even though he's only a sophomore at Oklahoma right now,
he's got so much hype to live up. But I swear I've been hearing about him for, like you said, for like 6 years.
Yeah. And look, Seth Luttrell takes over as offensive coordinator there for Jeff Lebby.
From North Texas fame.
Yeah. Seth Luttrell is also an Oklahoma alum, so they basically just took like one Oklahoma alum and switched, offensive mastermind with another one. And Seth Luttrell, well, I mean, that should be fun to watch.
Rehabilitation project for Seth Luttrell because he had a lot of promise at that North Texas team, but I think he's a really good offensive coach.
You know what I think happened to Seth Luttrell at North Texas? The rules changed.
What do you mean?
Like, when
they couldn't pay anybody?
No, that and the fact that like all of a sudden, good players that, because of transfer rules would just stay at North Texas because they're like, well, I don't want to sit out a year and all this.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden they don't have to sit out a year and you can just go get them.
Mm-hmm.
And, you spend most of your day walling off like, no, Texas, you cannot have my linebacker.
Right.
And then the linebacker's like, they can give me, and they also said I can have this much money, and they're like, that's more money than this whole city of Denton. God, I can't, we can't just do that. I've talked to a couple coaches who are at that level who, when they say like their basic thing is this school offered me this much money, and he's like, man, I wish I could keep you. I wish I could keep you here. It sucks. I'm going to be sad, but
we can give you Shipley's Donuts for a year.
You got to go. Like, basically it's like, no, go take that money, take that opportunity. We can't give that to you here. I want to have you, but go. Like, I'll be like, I heard a coach told me very recently, he told a kid who was like, I really don't want to go. And he's like, I'll be mad at you if you stay.
That's pretty altruistic.
Like one of the things, like, look, the whole time you're going to be here, I'm going to feel guilty that like you gave up this much.
You didn't set up your family in this way.
Like this could be for 2 years, man. You're going to get this much money. Go and get it. And that guy's
it's a tough position. I mean, good for that guy to being like I said, it's an altruistic stance to actually do that. A kind-hearted stance to actually do that. But I feel like that would be few and far between for a lot of those guys. Anyway.
Yeah. And finally, we're going to wrap it up with the one that controls Royden's emotions, his joy, the way he'll feel about himself in part.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, you feel like sports fans, it's true. You do when your team is not good, you feel a little worse about yourself, even though you had nothing to do with it.
It had zero to do with it. And in fact, I'll never have anything to do with it. But for some reason or another, I feel like
your self-esteem is hurt.
Yeah. My personality is based around how these 20-year-old kids play.
But I've been days where like like when the Red Sox have had like a bad stretch, like when they play the Astros, and they can't beat them. They just can't, no matter what happens. But
Darn.
But I'll have I've had days in my life, especially during like years after the Red Sox won the World Series and they're just not as good.
Yeah.
Where I'm like in a bad mood and I can't figure out why I'm sad. And then I trace it back to the Red Sox blew a save last night and they did it like for the 5th time in like the last 10 games. And then I'm like, well, I had nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
Like I have to remind myself, like, I had literally nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
My life is no different other than I'm mad about this thing I have zero control over, even though I would love to have control over it. But, Eric Gagne can't ruin my mood today.
Right.
Like that's
Well, somebody tweeted a video of this, and it was like me after my team loses 1 of 17 in the NFL. All right, we'll get him next week. Me when Kenley Jansen blows another save. What is going on?
yeah.
I hate this team.
Yeah.
1 of 162. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I could make good money with going to each team and finding the player that every team has a player that everybody hates.
Yeah.
No matter what it is, like if it's the quarterback, if it's, the ace pitcher who's just not been an ace pitcher, the first baseman who can't field anything or hit, like for Astros until recently.
The ire of Jose Abreu.
It would have been like, Jose Abreu can't hurt me today.
Yeah.
Like just for that's your mantra.
Yeah.
I bet you we'd make a lot of money on that.
Can't strike out
who's
5 times.
Who's the one that makes you sad the most?
Yeah.
And that's the shirt. But to get to that, DeQuan Finn has been named the starter at Baylor. The rollout of said information I'm less than pleased with, but I'm going to leave it there. Yeah. So I'll tell you after the show.
Okay, cool.
But
Patreon content.
Yeah. But DeQuan Finn, look, they came and got him to be the starter. He should have been the starter.
There's never a question. I don't know why we do this.
Yeah, and I know that there was some tug of war of who's having the good day, but lately DeQuan Finn's been getting the overwhelming majority of the first team reps. So it's been for the last week or so, maybe even more, that he's gotten the first team reps, the most of them, including I think almost all of them in the most recent scrimmage. So this is going to be interesting because he does have a lot to do with whether Dave Aranda is back or not.
Yeah, I mean, if he, Travis Roder put out a really good point in that he is going to run around and make plays where they will win games be off of the back of his talent alone. I think he's that talented. They will also probably lose games because he'll fall down and throw an interception because he's running around scrambling for his life. They just needed a guy, and his scrambling ability is probably almost second to none of any other quarterback in college football, really. Has 500 to 600 scramble yards or rushing yards every single year, which is hard to do for quarterbacks because I don't know if you know, they still take the sack yards off when you get sacked for some reason. Anyway, they're going to need it because I kind of think their offensive line is still going to stink regardless. Sorry to those kids. I just don't think they're going to be they may be better than last year, but that's, a step up from zero.
Yeah.
And so I think they're going to need a guy that can run around and make plays and extend plays. His accuracy is, maybe to be questioned, but it was Sawyer Robertson going to be that much more accurate. That is yet to be seen. I like the idea if you can keep Sawyer Robertson, letting him sit for one more year, and if it sticks around this Spavital offense, and then throwing him to the wolves when he's a senior and he has all this under his belt and he can go out there and make plays, because I do think he's a talented quarterback. I just think DeQuan Finn, he's a fifth-year starter. You were always going to bring him in. You probably paid a good penny to bring him in to be the starting quarterback. The song and dance of, we don't know who's going to start, is always kind of silly to me, unless he was just bad, but I never saw a thing where that happened. Go watch some of his tape. All the games are on YouTube. He really does go and just make plays out of structure when things break down. And I think it'll be really, really fun to watch in this offense, and probably brings another element with read options that Robertson wasn't going to do. All that being said, it may not matter because the talent may also just not be there.
Yeah. The offensive line's the biggest key.
Yeah. So he will not necessarily dictate my happiness when I see 4-on-4 winning versus that offensive line, and he can't do anything about it. But I will say there will be a game where they are up. I just couldn't call it this year. There will be a game where they are up, and he's scrambling for his life and like falls down and throws it to a defensive lineman, and it starts a rally for the other team.
Yeah.
That just is going to happen, and preparing Baylor fans for it now. Hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully I'm wrong, but I know that I'm right.
Well, Royden, thank you very much. Tomorrow, Steven Simcox will be back on the program. So coming up this afternoon on our fair show, we have got some great guests. We've got Taylor McCarg from CBS Sports. We've got Tony Siracusa, last word on college football. Stephen Wiseman of the Raleigh News and Observer. Craig Smokes off the radar. Mickey Spagnola and John McClain. So we'll talk some NFL in the last hour today. And look, I understand that we're mostly a college football channel, but we've all kind of voted together that we need a break.
Yeah.
Because our brains will melt.
There's simply too many college football teams.
And they landed at this on week 0.
Love that for you.
Yeah. Jack disagrees, but his opinion is only valued of me in certain situations.
I don't disagree. It's just kind of dumb that it took y'all this long to decide.
Yeah. Okay.
You made it through the entire offseason, and now you decide, yeah, we've had too much.
Yeah. Fair enough. Man, look, I'll put it this way. We tried to do it your way, and we can't.
Yeah.
Like, listen, we try to do it your way, we can't. We have to do it our way and be happy. And
Man can only take so much.
Yeah, exactly. YouTube's a different animal. We'll see you in an hour. Thanks to Royden. Stevens here tomorrow. Love you. Bye.
Fantasy Sports EVO, the next evolution of daily fantasy sports. Tired of traditional fantasy sports where you spend hours upon hours studying individual players? EVO's unique team-based platform makes it easier than ever for all sports fans to play. No need to know individual players. Just choose your contest, select your teams, and enjoy the game. Whether you access our website from a desktop, mobile device, or the app, the experience is the same. EVO is for all sports fans. Join Fantasy Sports EVO and experience the evolution.